Well, good morning, everybody. Top of the morning to you, I should say, shouldn't I? So, and welcome to our people at the back there. Welcome. Right, have we got any apologies? No apologies? No public forum? Any items not on the agenda?
Yeah, I just have one, Mr. Chairman, if we could discuss briefly the Ormondville Rail Viaduct. Thank you.
Any others?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one concerning the gorge, the new gorge road, going over the new road.
Can we also discuss the work that's being done on Aerodrome Road and see if anybody knows anything about the tree at Pongaroa?
Thank you. Any others? No. Any conflicts of interest?
There's an item on the agenda of some funding application from AMP. I'm actually a financial member of AMP since their last meeting.
Thank you. Someone move that the minutes of the last meeting be a true and correct record, please. Thanks, Terry.
I'll second that, Jim.
I've just got a query on that. With our minutes of the last meeting, I voted against the management report, and that's not recorded in the minutes.
If a member votes against, it's just not recorded unless they specifically say, can I please have my vote recorded?
Someone move that the Aotearoa Council minutes be accepted.
Yes, Chair. I can.
Thanks. A seconder?
I'll second that.
Yeah. Any matters arising from those minutes? Thank you. Move on to the management report. Someone move that be accepted, please.
I'll move that, Pat.
Thank you. I'll second that. Right. Discussions? No discussions on that. Move on to the local water done well consultation, which has been quite publicised around the country. So, has anybody got any queries on that? And I see we've got have a look at page 52. There is some daytime sessions where you can go. In Dannevirke is today at an evening session, and there's Dannevirke on the 4th of April. Any discussion? Bill? Yeah, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to basically reinforce, I've been through the document 2 or 3 times now. Is there any possibility that the Tararua District Council could not go into Hawke's Bay? I've been asked that question several times by members of the public.
Peter?
Sorry.
Peter Wimsett?
Either Mayor Tracy or myself. So it was one of the ideas that we look north, but they had already started to align themselves more towards centering around Napier Hastings. So that came down to Central Hawke's Bay. It was more likely that we would end up in the Manawatu or for the Wairarapa. So that's where we ended up.
Mayor Tracy?
Thanks, Chairman Pat. Very early on, I did signal that and tried to keep us into those conversations, but they were with Wairoa, Napier, Hastings and Central Hawke's Bay, based largely around some of the regional deal work that they had done, but also with Cyclone Gabrielle. So there hasn't been the option, nor have we been invited to be part of the Central Hawke's Bay or the Napier Hastings deals.
Are the sessions that we're going to have here, local, right through the Tararua, are they, what are they telling us? Is it what's on this paper mainly, or what?
They'll go through the paper. We've got some interactive sessions where you can have conversations with team members and ask any questions. We're starting to get a few questions also around over the weekend at consultation, just on whether why the decision was made not to go with Manawatu Wanganui. So we'll look to prepare some bits there and answer those questions. So people can come along and ask anything, talk about the future of water and try and understand it. It is a very big conversation. So we're just we were talking about whether we had a bit of an introduction and some open Q&A. So we'll try and have as much engagement as we can. If the community board wishes to have anything further or you have other ideas, just let me know.
Someone move that paper be accepted, please. Thank you. Yeah, where you go.
In relation to the stormwater, Peter, will we be managing that, or will that be the entity that will be managing the stormwater?
At this point in time, we have decided that it should transfer across as assets. The problem with stormwater is that it's integral with the roading network as well. So we're only talking about the physical stormwater assets that are defined in the stormwater infrastructure, as opposed to curb and channeling and other roading type management systems. That's the complexity. That's why local government will still be required to oversee the stormwater systems. There is the option, though, that we don't transfer the assets or the liabilities and that they stay with council and we continue to deliver. We might then contract that as out to other parties anyway, so that might be the CCO. So there are quite a few options there, but at this point for consultation we're saying transfer assets, transfer liabilities.
Good, thank you, Peter. Another question is the funding of the entity that manages the appointments to the board. Is that funded by the councils, is it?
It's almost too soon to say how that's going to be done, other than there is a transition requirement, and that involves the shareholder being a party to that and forming a shareholder group to make sure that the appointment process is in accordance with the legislation, which is still a bill before Parliament. So there's quite a few things still to take place before we get to that point. But we have allowed transitional funding, establishment funding in the budget for this model. the two models, but the model for joint includes establishment loan of up to 5 million. So it's quite a significant cost to set up this new business, and that's been allowed for in the model. So any cost that council will incur is likely to be tallied up and be transferred over to the new CCO, if that's where we go.
Thank you. Another question, Peter, is in relation to the installation of water meters, which will be rolled out, will this be funded by the new entity in time?
Once the assets have transferred across, they have to determine, the new CCO will have to determine the work program. So they have to develop a strategy. That strategy might follow our approach, which is universal water metering. So we can't be sure. They will determine the timing. I know that Masterton, for instance, nearing completion of their water metering program. So each council's at a different stage as well. And then there's the practicality. How do you physically do that? You can't just say overnight everyone has water meters. You actually have to plan it over a series of years, just from a people resourcing point of view.
And finally, if it's all approved, if council approves the process, when do you anticipate it to become a reality?
So the earliest is 1 July 2026, which isn't that far away, but that's at least to set up a shell company and then have the progressively in stages the transfer of the operation over into that new CCO.
Thank you.
Through you, Chairman Pat, you might not be able to answer this, Peter, but is it to the benefit of the people of Tararua that we go this way?
The true benefit comes from the economy of scale and building up a bigger business. They have more, we've said, buying power, so their ability to contract will be stronger than a single series of councils trying to tender all at the same time for the same thing. So central management of the contracts is going to be one of the key saving areas, we think. Otherwise, you can imagine that the support cost for four should create some saving as well in terms of economy. So you won't be having to do 4 asset management plans. You will be able to do 1 asset management plan for the lot. You still have the same inputs, but you only have to do it once. It's only audited once. So you can see why some of the overheads should go down because of that.
So you're saying that it's going to be beneficial for the people of Tararua. Would I have the right to say that?
That's what our models consistently show us.
Brilliant. Thank you.
One final question, Mr. Chairman, is that the board, I believe the board will need to make a submission to council. So can we make that decision now?
So certainly can, yeah.
Yeah. So I would move that the board makes a submission to this program. Thank you.
Second that.
Okay. And we need to get together as soon as possible to do it as it closes off within the next month.
We've had a mover and a seconder to put a submission through. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Yeah.
If we go for option 2 and stand alone and be local, are we going to consider doing what we're doing with the waste management and bringing it in-house? I feel that back in the day when it was the Borough Council, we never had any issues with the water, but now it's like if we had our own water team, surely it would be cheaper. That's just a contractor's perspective.
We had a mover for that paper. Have we got a seconder for that paper? I think so. What's that? Were you the mover?
Kerry was the mover. I was second.
All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Right, move on to the WACRO awards. We've had a discussion with all the team, and we've decided to have the judging on the 23rd of July at 9 o'clock, but the actual room is booked out at 9 o'clock, not ready till 10. Can we have a discussion on when? Do you want to change the date or just carry on with 10 o'clock? You happy at 10 o'clock? Yep. Yes. It's on the 23rd of July then, 10 o'clock. At meeting room. The award night will be the 5th of August at 7 o'clock. That'll be held in the hub. We've also decided that that we're going to go a bit further deep than the schools, like St John's Pipe Band, Little Theatre, etc. I think after the expo here on Saturday, that we found some St John's young people, which, you know, you might as well grab them and ask them if they were doing St John's down there. That they're doing something for the public of Dannevirke. So I think that we should carry on. Also, we've got a couple of. So I think around about I've got about 4 so far. So we'll go from there. Any discussions on that one, please? Anyone?
Have we got the forms and everything sorted out yet?
Ellie?
You'll see in the recommendations of the report that we're opening nominations on the 31st of March, and so the forms will be ready and on the website and at libraries and service centres at that time.
When we get them all, we'll distribute them. Guest speaker, I'm still in the midst of doing that at the moment, so we'll, if anybody's got any other ideas of a guest speaker, please let us know. Anybody got any suggestions more how we're doing it and doing it all right? What? No? Well, we'll carry on. Do you want?
I think it's pretty well. We've discussed it pretty well before the meeting, and I think the funding is taken care of, isn't it? We have sufficient funds to fund the project. Yeah.
Right. Do we need a mover for that? Oh, someone moved that that WACRO award paper be accepted. Yep. Thanks, Ernie. Seconded. Ron, thank you. All in favour, say aye. Yeah. Right. Request for funding for the AMP. Looking for 3,000. I don't know whether we can afford to give anything at the moment, but has anybody else gone?
I think my suggestion would be to put them towards the contestable fund. The second round is coming up early April, so I think that would be more of a appropriate place for them to apply to than us.
Mr. Chairman, we do have sufficient funds at the moment. I know we will be going for the community board annual funding round should be coming up shortly, surely. I think that we could, and how do we know what the balance is?
Be able to speak to that, yeah. Ellie?
You'll see on the paper there's an outline of the funding left available for the community board for this financial year. The community board hasn't decided whether it's going to continue running an annual contestable fund yet, and if it was, better timing would be at the beginning of the financial year. so that there's time for those funds to be uplifted and paid out before the close of the financial year. The application from the A&P is for up to $1,500, not $3,000, because they can only apply for 50% of the cost of the project that they're applying for. So they're seeking funding of $1,500, but it's up to the board whether you give all of that amount or a portion of that amount, or decline to fund it, or ask them to apply to the contestable fund. That's up to the board to decide that.
Thanks, Ellie. We've got another project in mind that we've got to sort out, is the flags on High Street, whether we're going to be going ahead with some of that. That's going to cost us a bit of money, so until we'll bring that up in discussion a bit later. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think that the A&P is doing a really good job at the moment, and they're involving a lot more local organisations in the showgrounds. And I think it would be disappointing if we didn't fund it to some degree. I believe that, and I'm going to move, that we donate or fund it to $500.
thank you. You got a seconder? Ron, seconded.
And going on what Terry said, the success of this year's show was outstanding. It brought it back to the good old days. Nothing about the previous ones, but this new committee they're on fire, and it was a total success, and it was a pleasure to be part of it. Thank you.
And also, even the market day yesterday, like it's growing and growing. They're opening up the facility to more and more users, especially with the community garden. I'd certainly like to see it supported, but I won't vote for it because of my conflict as a financial member.
We have a mover and a seconder. All those in favour for $500, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Mike, do you want to talk to this or not? Mike? Do you want to talk to your paper there? Has anybody got any questions for Mike? This paper? Do you want to talk to him, Mike? Anything about it?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chair. Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Dunn. I manage our projects office and been into the Three Waters management role now for a little while now. So we're reporting on this capital portfolio report. I'll take it primarily as read. If we start off on the first bit here, though, just so you're aware, we've combined all of the projects, programs, and portfolios into the one report. So you now receive everything in this one report. The first part here of the capital portfolio section on the 3 stop just highlights essentially where we're at with the health of it, schedule, budget, and risk and resourcing. Overall, it's trending positively, and as you can see there are a couple of highlighted risks as well. Just in general around the impound supply and play to a wastewater program upgrades, but they are covered off as we carry on through it. So I'm happy to stop at 7 and answer any questions from there, and if you'd like to, we can step through each sheet.
Right, any questions, Mike?
Yeah, Mike, could you give the latest update on the water holding situation? On the dam, on where
On the
we're at
dam.
with it? I mean, I've certainly read the report, but if you could give us the latest on it, where we're at?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've got one in here. So at the current stage, at the moment, like we're working through a number of different the initiatives that we have there for the impound supply. So one of them is the Dannevirke treated reservoir, our second one. So what we're doing at the moment is we're just investigating the geotech reports on the land, finding the suitability of that. We have all the designs necessarily drawn up. So should that all go through, then we'll be looking at progressing on with that build. So that's looking really positive in that way. The other part that we're doing as well, we've also investigated the submersible sumps for the dam as well, so that we can go down below that 6 metre volume. So that's also looking really good. I should have a project brief together in the next week, and then hopefully I'll be able to progress something in that way. Following on from that, the pre-treatment solution was another one that was also floated. So there's also the whether or not we go for a membrane versus a clarifier now. At the moment, we took some really good samples. We looked at around about 130 odd NTU straight out of the river flow. So that does look like from just end of last week, we did a bunch of jar testing over in Palmerston, and that's actually looked really positive as well. So hopefully that would indicate anyway that I get a good report out of what we could look at for a clarifier there, which would actually be a huge saving over a membrane plant. But again, we just need to fine tune it, and I'll get the recommendation this week, so I'll be able to confirm that. Further to that, the impound supply itself, we conducted some repairs on it about a month ago now, and we saw that the outflow at the outfall structure significantly reduced as well. And at the same time, we put in some permanent markings with some PVC piping, so that what that means is that we won't lose sight of those chalk markings anymore. And having those out there on the edges of all of the depressions that were already identified means that when we put in our underwater drone, we're actually able to map out the floor, and we can actually see as well from those markings if there has been any movement on them, just so that you don't get any of that build-up of the so as the depression moves, so will the PVC pipe. So we should be able to easier see that as well.
Do you have any predictions on the lifespan of this liner? I mean, we thought we were going to replace it, over the last 2 years, but with what's happening now, how long do you think we've got before we'll need to replace it? And if we do, when we do replace it, will you replace the lid, the cover over the top of the dam?
For me personally, right now, it's probably too hard to say right now for myself. I really needed to get these other pieces in play, but that is definitely the next step for me. Just to understand that current situation. So yes, that would be something I'm looking into now. The matter being that, to take that whole piece offline, there may be some other information there, but I mean, yeah.
Good morning, everyone, through the chair. And further to what Mike was saying, I think one of the reasons why we're building resilience around the impounded supply is whether or not, we actually need to repair the impounded supply. So we'll be able to treat higher turbidity water, which will mean that you're relying less on the impounded supply to mix or use in general. So that will give us ongoing resilience. Council would still need to make that decision at a further point, but I think the priority, as Mike said, is getting the additional pre-treatment in place, as well as additional raw and treated storage.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Brian, with this, will over time, of course, this will become the ownership or the responsibility of the new entity, of course? Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So it will be an asset that transfer across, but I think it's really important that we do transfer something across that's in the best condition as possible for that point in time. And I think no matter where this asset sits, having that additional resilience, should anything happen to it, is really important. The other thing to point out is the impounded supply, as of today, is functioning as it should function. We have reduced the level slightly, just while we're monitoring, just to make sure there's no undue pressure put on the bottom liner, but it is running as it was designed 10, 12 years ago. And even the outflows now that are coming out are the lowest it's ever been since we started measuring. So there's still an element of risk there, we won't deny that, but we think we've got a lot of mitigations in place at the moment, and monitoring to pick anything up should that change rapidly. Worst case scenario is that you put divers back down there to fix it again. So the last dive, as Mike said, was really successful. I'm really happy with that. And you know, it sort of highlights the fact that we could have rushed off and spent $26 million repairing this. We didn't. We took our time. We slowed down. We got the data we needed. We checked our thinking. We got our thinking peer reviewed, and everyone that's checked what we've done, you know, the experts in the industry, totally agree with our approach.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks very much for that.
Question to both you gentlemen. Firstly, very hard to understand you chaps because you sort of, well, definitely you sort of mumble a bit, no disrespect, but I find it very hard. It must be the sound system in here or something. But besides all that, so both you gentlemen appreciate what's been done by your team and everything. And as a community board member, I can confidently say to the people of Taurua, well, Dannevirke, that's our ground, we're on a good track. We're on a good projection to not run out of water unless there's some big adverse occasion happens. Would I be right to tell the people that?
Yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of scaremongering going around the community. We're certainly comfortable with where we're at in terms of the impounded supply, and it's not just our staff that are keeping an overview of this. We've got, you know, outside support around this in terms of the monitoring, and as I mentioned before, everything we've done has been peer reviewed, and a report was presented to council that said that the decision-making process that we've got in place right now is the correct one. So yeah, there isn't anything to worry about. One thing that's been highlighted is that the banks aren't going to collapse and all this water's going to rush out of the dam. Not at all. So it doesn't mean that there's no risk, and there is still a certain amount of risk because of the damage that could be in the subsoil drainage system as a result of the rips and tears in the bottom liner, but there's nothing to indicate any immediate risk to it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Any more questions, Danny?
Obviously, the divers have done a good job in putting those PVC pipes and everything at the levels is a great thing. But as you know, I've seen what's under the liner, and it still concerns me greatly about the long life of the liner. It's always going to be at risk. Yeah, that's just my personal feeling.
Yeah, certainly. That's probably the risk is the unknown. So what is underneath the liner in terms of that subsoil drainage system, and that's why we measure those depression levels. And I think what Mike and the team have done is, you know, they've got the divers down there to have a bit of a pat around, but as far as we're aware, that they were actually quite firm in a lot of places. Would that be correct, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks very much. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for that. Tracy. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair Pat. I'll just make the comment on top of that is why Mike and the team are looking at the additional measures of water storage and water treatment, so that those risks are mitigated.
Yeah, Ernie?
So it sounds like the priority is pre-treatment is the backup plan. Is that what we can understand and give back to the community that are always at us all the time asking questions? That's the future-proofing method that you're preferring at the moment?
Well, essentially, yes. I mean, that is definitely one of the main schemes of work that we're working through on that. And at the same time, though, we have to concurrently or continue monitoring the impound. We do physical walkovers, we do daily data checks as well on it, so it's continuously monitored. We've nearly got a year and a half or nearly 2 years worth of data on that from everyday monitoring. So that is how we sort of, well, let's put that, yeah, that's how we're going to mitigate that risk. It also means that we are able to, as we've just been talking about, pre-treat before it goes into it, so we can treat a high turbidity straight off the river flow. It also means that we'll increase our treated reservoir storage, which provides an additional buffer to the town. So those two are the main schemes of work, as well as the submersible pumps that we were just talking about, which will allow us to achieve greater than that 6 metre depth of the current impound supply. So,
Thanks, Mike. Thanks very much, Mike, Brian. Thank you. Can we have someone, did we have any mover on that paper? Haven't had one. Do we have a mover on that paper, please? Ernie, thank you. Second, Terry. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Right, on with reports. Terry?
We have planned for the Chamber of Commerce an after 5 meeting on the 25th of March at the Lion's Den on the High Street. I'm sure a lot of people would like to come to that and just see exactly what happens at the Lion's shop and where the profits and the proceeds from that enterprise go. Planning is also underway for a breakfast meeting, which will be in April. So we'll keep you informed on that. Now, the Dannevirke Community Vehicle Trust continues to have very good patronage for both of our vehicles, and we had over the weekend a pretty good response at the expo here in the town hall, and we gave out a lot of leaflets and a lot of people interested in what we're doing in that area. Another interesting point to note with the Vehicle Trust is that we're now we're celebrating, or going to be celebrating, 10 years of service to the Dannevirke community for the Vehicle Trust, or for the use of the vehicle. Just bear in mind that this was a community board initiative over 10 years ago by Bob Dresser, who was the chair of the community board at the time, and he made that project literally happen with a lot of work and a lot of research. He brought that to the people of Dannevirke. Just an update on the Lamison Trust. Currently, we have most of our working plans in place now, and we're working to getting costings for the project. And just this week, we will be meeting with the likes of ScanPower to look at the lighting for that project, and also meeting with the team from the District Council, a site meeting this week to talk about the logistics of how it's all going to happen. So that'll be happening midweek this week. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Any questions for Terry? No.
Chairman Pat, the brass band, the mayor's just left, but never mind. We had a meeting with the brass band about the historical payments that go back a few years. I still don't know the outcome of that. I'm waiting on the mayor, if the mayor was going in to look for that. But maybe Brian can answer that question. Thank you.
Through your chair. The mayor has been speaking with me about this, and I have looked at the previous agreements relating to that. I guess the point here is that no previous council can hold a future council to any agreement, and I think that's what comes down to it. If that was the case, we potentially would have hundreds of agreements that we wouldn't be able to get out of. I think the key thing here is that, but to change that, and for good practice, is that you'd have to put it through one of our legal processes. So it did go through the LTP, where all of that line funding was withdrawn and then put into the contestable fund. So ultimately, the funding's still there. It just means that they will have to apply along with others that also, would have good cause for funding. And as I mentioned before, I think they'll have a pretty strong case to get funding. It's just the process that council has changed through the LTP, so that will supersede any other agreement.
Thank you, Brian. That's, thank you very much. We know where we stand now. I can go back to the brass band and tell them that. The brass band in itself's been operating brilliantly. They've got a lot of learners coming on. I was unable to be at their last committee meeting, but the word on the street is they're going very well and the future looks very bright. So that's the brass band. And as far as the information centre goes, I haven't received the latest report, so I will duly have that for you next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you very much. Right, Irina.
Thanks, Pat. So we've received the basketball hoop and it has arrived in Dannevirke, so we've got that in storage at metal form. So we're just working with the skate park builders because we don't want to be putting the basketball half court in the wrong place. So we're just working with them currently at the moment, and they're also working on engineering reports in the domain area. And then it's a bit slower than we hoped to get the plans out for the skate park and basketball hoop. That's me.
Thanks, Irina.
There's nothing extra to report from AMP because their meeting is the Tuesday after our Monday. So I'll have something from tomorrow night's meeting next month. But yeah, everything's going well.
Thank you. Road safety. I'd like Irina to tell them about the parking we've done down at the in Allardyce Street.
So it was probably only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it, Pat? We popped down and had a look at the exit, or the driveway that comes out next to behind REAP and by the mental health services there, and Pat parked his car in the park, and it's only a 1.5 car park where he was parked, and behind his car is these couple of yellow lines which we're not too sure why they're there. Anyway, I talked with Dan about maybe shifting the car parks back, and so the actual rules is an entrance. The car parking is meant to be 1.5 meters, I think, away from an entranceway, and it doesn't actually. It's not those requirements. So they're going to repaint those lines in the car for those car parks, so it's easily more visual when you pull out of that driveway. So yeah, it was a quick win really, because it's not a big project. It's just shifting the lines.
Yeah, there was the two yellow lines there. I don't know what they were there for. So if we took them away, we could move the car parks back 1.5 meters and job's solved, so go from there. Right, so onwards. We got any correspondence? Didn't we ever? No. Okay, discussion items. Update on the metals recycling. Anybody know anything?
Well, I have nothing to report. The owner was supposed to report back to me before the end of January for a site inspection to explain exactly what was happening, but that unfortunately that hasn't happened, Mr. Chairman.
I was in discussion with him over the weekend when I went to do my recycling, and he said that they were working through it, but it doesn't seem like there's much of a change when you drive down the street. He said he's got a visit coming from WorkSafe, I believe, this week. So, yeah, watch the space and see if it happens.
Thank you. Impounded supply update, well, we've had that. Laws Road update. Who wants to have a go at that? What we went for? Or do you want to explain what we did the other day?
Well, the three of us, member Wallace couldn't make it obviously, but the three of us from the Community Board, the Mayor and a management team met on Laws Road, and pretty much the end of the story was that the explanation we were given is the work could have been done better, but the funding didn't allow any more work. So if anyone else has got any comment on that, the operator has to learn somewhere, is what we got told.
Yeah, but that's going to be done next year, isn't it? So that's what's going to happen. What they did, they put the hot mix on the side to stop the road from actually moving away from it, so chipping away. So that's why they put a sort of a hot mix through there. Right. The flag tracks. I've been to Akaruna to find out what their flags for High Street, down our High Street, and I was surprised that their flags are all faded. I don't know how long I've had them up there for, but so I have rung the joker that actually does it. So it's going to have them up the pole, and the hardware going up each pole is around about $1,000, and then plus the flag, which would be around about $100 for a flag. I've counted the poles. There's 25 poles down High Street, but I wouldn't say we would go that many. So, well, what we've got to decide, do we buy a few, like, I don't know, 10? So it's, it's 10,000, isn't it? So, plus the flags. The flags, well, I'm thinking of Christmas time, Christmas flags. So we're looking at $11,000. Right.
Through you, Chairman Pat, I believe you don't have to have road managements to put these flags up, so that must be a saving. Right. That must be a saving straight away. And let's face it, the town does look a bit drab. We need to lighten it up a bit. We have got the lights. They are what they are. Not knocking them, and thank you to Scampower for putting them up for us. But why not we try and beautify our town and make it a celebrationary place? And yeah, probably $11,000 would maybe make a start on it if we've got the money. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you could, like when at the end of that budget year, so like towards the end of June, we'll have so much money left, and then that's when we could probably purchase some, put some up. And I don't know what the process is with council, but we've got Christmas lights there that another town may want to buy, but I'm not too sure what, how we sell them, but that might be one way of getting the flag tracks as well.
Yeah.
But a staff member might know the process about if we're able to sell them or not. Yeah.
Do you think that the Community Board needs to apply to the big $50,000 fund that's left, and that we apply for that rather than chew into our 17,000? That's just my thoughts.
From the contestable fund, you mean? Yeah. Well, that's the one way we can do it. I don't know what happens with the lights, but as you say, it's $2,000 just to put the traffic management on the job. So there's two, with every year. So this way, ours wouldn't fade because they'd go up at Christmas time, and then they'd come down. But then we could have another set of like, well, Anzac, we could put flags up, for that sort of thing. So,
And I know Tiaki also, he asked me about them a while ago because I'd be quite interested to put them up for the Kapahaka Festival. So they REIT were also looking into flags as part of advertising the Kapahaka Festival leading up to it. So there'll be other organisations who may want to put, get their own set of flags for Anzac Day or, yeah. So I think they'll be well utilised for other, other events.
it's just the hardware that's $1,000, and all they do is the joker's name is Chris Zunis, and he told me that it takes about not even a minute to put the flags up. Once the hardware's there, just one sort of thing. So, yeah, sounds good. Probably is good, as long as they don't fade.
So are we going to go out and look for other funding as well and make it a community board project, or like for the hardware to get it rolling?
Shall we go for the contestable fund for a start? And at least they belong to the council and the community board?
I would move that. I'll second it.
Okay. We have a move and a second just to go to the contestable fund for a start. Okay. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried.
They're everywhere, especially on Topgrass Road. We seem to attract them, eh, Terry?
I think we have a problem with boy races, but I think it's up to police to police it. I know it's hard for them, but I think the public of Dannevirke should, if they see any boy races, get in touch with the police. They're the ones that want to do it. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think it's a national problem, and it needs to be addressed nationally as well, and disseminated down to the districts. And it's been said that it's become a real problem now within town as well. So we're seeing various intersections around our urban area now getting targeted at all hours of the day by boy racers. So, and it is damaging to the streets. And as Ernie said, on Topgrass Road, the road markings have basically been totally obliterated, so you can't see what the road markings are. So, yep, something has to be done. We've addressed it before. We've discussed it with the police, and I know the police are working hard on it. And where possible, vehicles are being impounded. So, and in some cases being crushed. So, yep, I think it's a work in progress, and I don't think anybody has any real solutions at this stage.
right, the community board funding. We've just done that. A meeting date for April. Was that Ellie?
Thank you, Chair Pat. The second Monday of April, the third Monday of April, which is when your next meeting would normally be, is Easter Monday. So the board needs to have a discussion about whether you hold your April meeting on another day or just not hold a meeting in April.
Normal meeting date, Mr. Chairman, would be the 21st, is that right? We can't have the 21st.
No, I think not Monday. It's Easter Monday.
Oh, correct. I think it's important that we have a meeting.
Tuesday.
Yes, and I think we can go for the Tuesday. I would move that we go for the 22nd.
Okay, moved by Terry, seconded by Ernie. Next meeting will be on Tuesday, the 2nd.
If I may, Chairperson, I'll check the calendar to make sure the room's available, and if it's not, I'll get back to you, but otherwise we'll schedule it for the Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Ellie. Righto, Ormville Rail. Jerry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've recently been approached by members of the Ormondville Railway Station Society or Trust. They are very keen to establish a walkway in Ormondville, which would go from the old school on Carr Street, and there's a possible parking area in that area. It's a 100-metre track, would take you through its actual council land to view the viaduct. Now, the viaduct, as everybody knows, is quite an iconic structure, and it attracts, or the Ormondville Railway Station attracts a lot of visitors every year. In fact, it attracts, in the last couple of years, 2,000 people each year, and they have 300 people staying overnight at the railway station. And they also have 600 people in organised groups on trains and buses visiting Ormondville. Now, that's quite some interesting statistics, particularly for the likes of Ormondville. But this is a great little project which the locals are trying to implement, and they're seeking our support for that. I've discussed it with them, and I believe that we need to have if the board approves of this project, I will progress it with them and take it forward with council, because, as I say, we are involving council land, and maybe I could get some direction this morning, if approved. Maybe Brian could give me an indication of the process, what is required for that. Yeah. How we can make it happen. We need to make it happen. Yeah. Yes, I'll move the motion that the Dannevirke Community Board supports the establishment of a walkway on council land from Carr Street to a viewing platform, approximately 100 metres, to view the Ormondville Viaduct.
I'll second that. No. I'll second that. Just one thing, Chairman Pat. Through the chair, of course, we all have to be very careful. Great idea, Terry. Brilliant, brilliant. But we do have to be remember funding costs. So I personally believe that we should do it, though.
Can I just say, at this stage, there is no cost from us at this stage.
Brilliant.
It's just merely facilitating and assisting them with the establishment of this project.
I think it'd be quite a good idea for one of the meetings for them to come in and do a public forum with us, let us know what they intend to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I'd just like to know a little bit more information, because like safety and all that sort of thing as well. And are they already formed trust, or, you know?
Absolutely. It's the Ormondville Railway Station Trust here.
And can we also find out the process that they'll need to go through the council, so that we're ready with an answer for them?
Your best idea would be to get them in here. That's it.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, correct. So if they can present the details here. In the meantime, I will talk to the team. So primarily it will be the facilities team, the person who looks after the land, but also liaising with the planning team as well. But we'll have the process outlined, so when they present, so we can be ready with some answers to questions. That sounds all right. Thank you.
Good. Right, new road, Ron.
The new road, I'm just wondering, the question is, I believe the council is going over the new road at the end of the month, and I hope that the community board, like we have been before, will be invited to go on that trip to look at the new road, and so we can keep the people of Dannevirke, when they come and ask you how the progress is, that we can give them an answer. So my question is to the council, don't forget the community board, we need to be on that bus. Thank you.
Fair enough.
I'm not 100% sure of the answer to that, but it's not actually the council, it's whether they can house you over at the office. So they're the ones that put out the invite last time to a community board to come along as well. So you might pay to just check with me and Tracy to see if they opened up the invite to everybody.
Through you, Chairman Pat, I just hope that we are included, because it's a big part and a big part of history. And when anything happens majorly in the town, the community board is certainly notified and brought in on what happens around the town. So I don't want to be left behind, and I feel the community board, as part of this community, should be involved. So it would be very much appreciated if we can get hold of the person who's doing the inviting and tell them that the community board is in favour. I take it. Would I be right in saying that, community board, to be part of the team? Thank you.
Ernie, tree at Pongaroa.
It made the paper in the weekend and everyone's asking questions, so if we could have some transparency on at the next meeting, a report of what's happened. I did mention it after the meeting last time to Carter, so yeah, but as community board members we get it in the neck all the time, so.
What's the story on what's the tree?
Through you, Chair Pat. So there was an incident involving a kahakatea tree that was cut down in the Pongaroa domain. That was reported through to council a couple of weeks ago, I think now. Council has initiated an investigation on that. So we are collecting some information regarding that. So I can't go into too much detail regarding the actual investigation. But what I can say is that we've established, we know who's cut the tree down. We've just got to get in terms of the background, in terms of why and for what reasons. But what we do know is that council did not give any approval to cut the tree. We were notified by our iwi and the people that were responsible for it. So we're just gathering our facts at the moment. Highly likely we'll take some legal advice on how we progress the matter and the outcomes that we're sorting, but we're certainly taking this seriously. And as board member Ernie said, that there is quite a bit of media attention around it, so we've just got to make sure we go through the process properly.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, Ron?
Yeah, just to summarise, I was handed this. This is the ladies with the rose garden doing their thing. They've got a little pamphlet that I've received at 8:30 this morning, but it's a great idea promoting the rose garden and the success that they're hoping to do. I haven't heard back from the mayor on the the rules and regulations of going into the council land, into the rose garden, but no doubt that's been moved and looked at. So, and also there's another little pamphlet that goes with it, and it's fantastic because it gives the history of the domain. So well done to the friends of the Dannevirke domain, and I just congratulate them for what they're doing. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Ron, just a little update there. Yes, they are gathering names for supporters for that project, and I understand that they are meeting with council staff this week to discuss exactly what you've just talked about, health and safety and things like that, when entering the domain. So it's all a work in progress at this stage.
All right, Aerodrome Road?
Yeah, I've had multiple residents asking why the road's been ripped up when there was nothing wrong with it. You know, we were explained at our meeting 2 weeks ago on the Friday that it was part of an area-wide shape correction, but they've been there a month, and it's like, yeah, some kind of explanation of why they're widening a perfectly good road that's a dead-end road, really.
thanks very much for coming and, have a good St. Paddy's Day. Cheers. Thanks. Declare the meeting closed.